Welcome to the fifth set of lectures on business ethics. In this lecture, I'm going to talk about duties and rights and how they support a motivation-based approach to ethics. So the first segment will be just on how motivations connect to principles and the various sorts of principle ways of proceeding in ethics. Let's go back to our three forms of ethical reasoning. Remember, we talked about a typical problematic ethical situation involves an actor, an agent, making some sort of decision, and that decision has an outcome. And we can assess the agent, him or herself, according to what sort of character they have, what sort of nature they have, what sort of person they are. We can assess the decision that they make based on their motivation for that decision. And we can assess the ethical situation based on the outcome of the person making that decision, producing that outcome. And I'm going to look here now at the motivations that people have for their actions. Somebody might be motivated by revenge. Well, that's not a particularly ethical motivation, but then they realize, well, they've got a duty, say, not to kill other people. Well, in that case, we have a particular sort of motivation, a duty, and that's an ethical motivation. And in this case, hopefully, it trumps the person's desire for revenge. Now, there's various principles that people can follow in their actions, right? This is the case where the end does not justify the means. The decision you make is based on your principle, on your motivation, and your motivation is based on principles. One of those principles, one possibility, could be what are called divine command theories. You want to do what God tells you to do. Well, this is examples in the Old Testament, the Ten Commandments, or in the Christian New Testament, the Golden Rule, treat others as you would have them treat you. I'm not going to deal with these sorts of theories in this course. They're beyond my competence, and they're subject to dispute about, just depending on which God you believe in or whether or not you believe in God at all. So I'm going to ignore those. I'm going to concentrate in this discussion on duties, which are powerful ethical obligations that people have, and on the correlated rights. Right is a justified claim, morally justified claim by one person that another person owes duties to her. They both, rights and duties, connect in a way that you'll see in a moment. The next chapter will be about justice. So there'll be no discussion of this. This is in the next chapter, and we'll look at rights and duties as the types of principles that people might follow in this chapter. Here's a conceptual map of where we are. We're looking at different ethical theories, concentrating on the principle-based theories that talk about people's motivations, and looking at the duties and rights, ignoring justice, which is in the next chapter, and passing by a discussion of divine command theories. Rights, there's specific rights, things, basically based on promises, and general rights based on people, nature, the people, or just human rights. So we'll look at those in a minute. Let me first deal with one way of conceptualizing this. It's a way, a method owed to W.D.Ross. He suggested that we didn't actually have overriding absolute duties to do things no matter what happened, but our duties were prima facie. They were duties on the face of it, but they duties that you have, but which can sometimes yield to stronger obligations. Duties can conflict, and sometimes the duty to do this has to yield to the duty to do this other thing. Ross did ethics with basically a list of these prima facie duties. He had 7 of them. Beneficence, which is the idea of helping others, fidelity, keeping promises, gratitude, reciprocating with other people, justice, being impartial, do no harm, non-maleficence, reparation, paying compensation, and a duty to maybe of self-improvement to make yourself the best that you can. Now, there's it's possible to do ethics this way, but I don't think it's the easiest or most apparent way. And so in this book, I'm going to talk about beneficence, Ross's beneficence, as a form of utilitarianism, helping others, right? And keeping promises is going to fit in with duties and rights. And impartiality, of course, is justice. These are, I like to do it this way, because that way I can treat them as reasons based on this classification scheme that we've been using here. We've been, again, to review, we have the agent making a decision which has an outcome, and then we can concentrate on the sorts of reasons that apply to the character of the agent, to the motivation behind the decision, and to the evaluating the outcome. Utilitarianism evaluated the outcome. I'm going to understand these prima facie duties, not as duties, but actually as reasons. And they're reasons which have to be weighed and judged and balanced in the process that I've discussed as ethical pluralism. It's not that the other way doesn't work, it's just that this gives, to my mind, a better and more inclusive classification. And we can work with material from these other ethical theories that have been developed by philosophers. So here is a quick question just to see if you've been following this. It'll help you review some of these ideas. Which is the best classification for this principle-based view? Here it is here. The Charter of Rights is fair. Okay, so pause the video for a moment. Think which is the best of these answers. Commit yourself by noting it down on a piece of paper, and I'll be back with you in a moment. All right, welcome back. Well, the Charter of Rights is fair. Well, it mentions rights, so you might be inclined to go right down here to the rights-based view. And that's what I intended. Don't forget that when you're dealing with multiple choice questions, you're dealing with tricky people like professors who try to fool you to try and see if you're paying attention. This view is about rights, right? But it's not saying something. The main idea in this claim is that the Charter of Rights is fair. Okay, now fairness it's not a divine. We can cross off divine command. We can cross off duty-based because neither of these here. But fairness is a justice-based notion. And what you're saying is, well, you're talking about rights, but you're justifying the set of rights on the basis that they're fair. So the correct answer is not, as it might seem, the rights-based, but this justice-based idea, which we will get to in the next chapter.